Hello YouTube, my name's Sean Collins and welcome back to the Outsiders channel. And in today's video, this video is again inspired by Tim Harpett. It's about 8 ways to be more confident as a DM. Tim's recent comments in my Changing DM's Perspectives made me realise that even the most experienced DM, and we've all had them, has confidence issues from time to time. And I'm not saying for 1 minute that Tim is an unconfident DM. He clearly isn't. And the praise that he actually gets and the positivity he gets and the things that he does for our community are incredibly positive. But I know, and I'm not just singling him out, he made it very clear in a couple of the comments that he had recent confidence issues. Well, we all have them. You know, that's the reality of it. Every DM, whether you're brand new to being, you know, a 30-year plus veteran, has confidence issues. And it's actually a video I've been meaning to do for a very, very long time, because I think that this video has relevance not only in DMing, but also in life. I think it's a very important video, but one that needed to be done in such a way that it would all make sense. The steps would be logical, and each step would improve the next step, if that makes sense. And I hope what we'll get from this is a video where you may do videos yourself, which will help others around confidence, things that you would recommend that will help them. That would be great. And as always with my videos, at the end you'll see what I'm looking for from you as my audience, because if you should achieve the thing at the end of this video, then of course I shall be back to do another video. And that's the way I'm going to run it from now on, because it just makes sense. That way I know the audience is with me, they're engaged, and they like what they see. And if they don't, then it's probably time for me to go, thank you, and bye-bye. It's probably the fairest way. Anyway, 8 ways to be more confident as a DM. Number 1, tap in to the confidence you were born with. And when you think about it, when we were born, we did not come into this world unconfident. We came in kicking and screaming, and we knew clearly what we wanted. It may have been basic, but we knew exactly what we wanted and pretty much how to get it. And as any parent will tell you, you recognise your children's crying very quickly, and you know exactly what they want. That's confidence. Children have a tremendous amount of confidence. Now, over time, as you become a bit older, confidence gets eroded away. Shyness can creep in. Various problems can occur. It's quite normal, but that's what happens. That's the same in DMing. You know, when I started off DMing, I came in very confident and naively confident, and over time, you know, you get knocks, you become your own worst critic. I'm sure you've heard all these phrases before. So I want you to think for a split second about how important it is to remember way the way back to either when you first started as a DM, and if that isn't good enough because you're unconfident when you started, then go further back. You certainly weren't born that way. It's tip 2. Know your strengths and weaknesses. Do something simple. Do a very simple thing they use in psychology a lot. Write lists. Write 5 things that you think you do well as a GM. In fact, don't just think it, know it. 5 things you know you do well as a DM. And then 5 things you would like to improve on. Those 5 things that you've written down are your strengths. They're your core values. Those are the things that you can rely on, that you can fall back on, that you know are the strengths you have. Now, over time, it could change those 5. It's always worth doing these lists probably every year to give an idea of what's improving, what's changing. And the areas that you've noted down that you want to improve on, that's exactly what you're going to do. Because it's very easy for a GM when they're running a game to rely on their core values and try to gloss over, hide, use a little bit of magic to avoid the areas where we've all done it as experienced GMs and we become good at it to do it as inexperienced GMs. We've glossed over those weaknesses. We've made our weaknesses look like strengths because we avoid them. So it's important to know what those areas are that you can improve on. And then every time you get in front of the table, rely on your strengths, but make sure you're practicing the areas you can improve on. Because you know what? Practice makes perfect. And the more you practice those areas that you feel are not your strengths, you know, you gain confidence around them and they can become them. Very important. Step 3, expect success in your GMing, like you should expect success through life. You know, and success is self-perpetuating. When you start getting successes, hey, isn't it amazing how you go on a purple patch, how successes just seem to follow you, how you suddenly become really good at something and everybody perceives you to be really good at it, and you feel good about what you're doing, and that breeds confidence. So expect success. Now, I think the way I've done this is, of course, I'm always striving for perfection, and that drives me on to deliver. And I always say, if this was the last game I ever run, I want it to be my best. Now, of course, it's not always my best game. Of course it isn't. But the fact that I'm trying to be the best it can be, of course it's going to still be good. Of course the standard's still going to be good. Yeah, we're going to have dips, of course we are. But on the whole, the majority of the body of the work is going to be right up there. Find that mindset that achieves that for you, whatever it is, and keep doing it, because that's important. And you'll find as well, if I haven't already illustrated the point, confidence comes from success. Of course it does. 4, trust your capabilities. Remember those core values you wrote down? They're very important. You've got to rely on those. You can't fully expect them to bail you out of trouble, but most of the time they can. If in doubt, rely on the fact that you have skills and you are working on other skills, and you've got to trust in that capability. You've got to trust your ability to get out of trouble at any time in GMing. It's like a golfer, yeah, who gets into a bad area, a rough spot, yeah. You've got to trust your capability to find a way out of the trouble, yeah. And when we talk about trouble in DMing, what we're talking about is a situation that may turn awkward for you, and you've got to find a way to make it exciting or bring it back in check, make it exciting for the players around you, or utilise it as part of the ongoing story. You've just got to think about your capabilities and what can drive that. And these next 3 points are all linked. Embrace the unknown. You know, we talked about trust your capabilities. You've got to embrace the unknown. You've got to think you don't know everything. Okay, you can never learn everything as a GM. Of course you can't. It's not possible to be all-knowing. I'd love to think you could, but you can't. But what you can do is you can learn to enjoy the unknown. You can learn to expect the fact that in GMing this is going to happen regularly. There are going to be times of your game where you're going to explore areas that you had not prepared for, that were not part of the plan. Enjoy, embrace it. And you know what? You suddenly become good at this ad-lib art we all refer to. You suddenly embrace that unknown. It becomes a seamless part of the gaming you do, because you're embracing it. You think to yourself, this is a part I didn't plan for. Damn. But I've got to make them think that it is. Well, I'm glad you've done that. So-and-so says this, and this is what you see, or that is what happens next. Have that wry smile. Have that self-assurance that this is fine. Even though we don't know what is about to happen, we can embrace it, accept it, and love it. That's very, very important. Step 6 is also related to this. Trust your capabilities, embrace the unknown, take risks. When you GM, you have to be prepared to put yourself out on the edge. You have to be prepared to do the silly thing. You have to be prepared to do things that people hadn't thought of before, because you cannot grow yourself. You cannot develop the envelope that is GMing and go beyond it if you're not prepared to take risks. It's that same old story of, if you do the same thing you always did, you do get the same result. And that result can be a hell of a lot of confidence losses, because you can feel really bad about the way you're running games, or awkward, or stale. Your games get a staleness to them because you're not prepared to embrace the unknown, not prepared to take risks. And that can lead to confidence loss, because you suddenly start feeling like, yeah, I've been here before, I've felt this. Remember how confidence breeds success? Well, don't forget that when you're unconfident, that does breed, to be honest, more problems. It breeds more unconfidence issues. So that's why it's important that you take risks, because the more you get to love taking those risks, having fun with it, embracing the unknown, the quicker you can trust your capabilities, the more you're able to do as a GM. Tip 7 is the critical one that we all struggled with as experienced GMs by the sounds of it. Tim, like myself, is no different here. Learn to receive the praise from people around you, no matter how minor or massive that praise might be. Take it, accept it, embrace that praise, even if it's just well done, thank you for the game. That has got to mean something. Every time those people come to your door, every time they come into one of your games, and every time they sit down at your table, they're telling you something, that your game is good. Embrace that, love it, and the confidence will come from it. Take the praise. Of course, there will be negativity. Of course, you should learn from it. It's important to listen to what people are telling you. We're not egotistical. Sometimes that DMing ego is perceived that way. In reality, it's confidence. That person has tremendous swagger and confidence. There's nothing wrong with it. Confidence is a good thing if used the right way. It can equally be a negative thing if it's not, and I'm sure you all know where I'm going with that. But the reality for this video is simply this: receive, embrace, and accept the praise. It's very important, because that praise that you accept, that you realise is given, honestly, it's not done, oh, it's just a small thing they're doing, they're not really telling me the truth. No, they're giving you the praise because they believe it. It's much easier for them to criticise, and I'm sure you'll find they would. And they criticise you first, then they'd leave second. So you're doing something right, and that's why it's important to take the praise. 8. Oh, I forgot what the 8th part was there for a split second. Practice confidence. That's the final part. You've got to practice it. It is a skill, yeah? It is a skill that you can embrace. Confidence is a skill you can practice. You're going to think, no, it isn't. Let me tell you why it is. Get up at the table. Run hundreds of games. And you tell me that after running several hundred games, you're still doing it. You're not confident. You wouldn't be doing it. You must be bloody good at what you do by the time you constantly run games. You must be. So keep practicing. Keep believing. You're always a student in life, as you are in anything you do, whether you're the greatest sportsman at a particular thing to, you believe, a good GM. You know, ultimately the aim, whatever your aim is, in GMing, I'm sure it's to run a great game. That comes through confidence. And that's why practicing at the table, time running games, effort put in, trying to do the best you can do, putting all that effort in will reap its own rewards, not in just GMing and DMing in life, but in everything you do in your life as well. What I know for a fact, and I'm sure all of us will testify to this as DMs for some years, is the positive, massive impact that DMing has had on every facet of my life and in everything that I've done. Anyway, I've been Sean Connors. This has been 8 ways to be a more confident DM. I hope you found it of value, and I really look forward to your video responses. Anyway, take care of yourselves and happy gaming, and I'll see you again sometime soon. Bye bye.